All right, welcome everybody to the 9 o'clock news. I mean the Patterson report. Um, I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. And if you're watching this, the Phils are in a rain delay. So we'll try to do what NBC Sports does so well, and rather than play a meaningless game from 2008, we'll do this podcast during the rain delay. But before we jump into the Phillies, for those of you who live in southeastern PA, like myself, and rely on public transit to get in and out of the city, you may have seen that SEPTA just cut or is threatening to cut up to 45% of the routes in and out of Philadelphia because they owe over $213 million or something crazy like that. Which, look, sucks for the entire suburbs because getting into Philly on driving is an absolute disaster. Anybody that had to deal with 76 before, my heart goes out to you. So you take the train. Problem is, they're cutting a lot of the suburban train lines. Myself, I rely on the Paoli line. They're cutting it. So I'm going to have to drive into the city starting in 2026. A more broad approach that doesn't just affect people like myself who live in the burbs, the Broad Street line, for all intents and purposes, is getting cut out. You'll be able to take it to the games, but not home. The BSL is going to start shutting down at 9 o'clock if this plan goes through, which pretty stupid. How the hell are you supposed to get home from the stadiums? If you take it there, you going to walk home? No. Bus? Probably not. So you're going to force way more people to drive into the sports complex. If you've tried to drive to the sports complex, you already know that it's a knife fight trying to find parking and get out of there. And the BSL used to be an express line after games, and it was free after Eagles games pretty often. So cutting all that out really just devastates the Philadelphia tailgating, get drunk in the parking lots experience. And I'm hoping SEPTA figures it out. We don't get political on this podcast, but I'm hoping somebody somewhere throw SEPTA some money so that we can continue to take public transit to and from the games, because this would not be good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. As you know, the parking lot before the game is the vibes are just as high as in the game. I don't know if you know, I forget what lot it is. It's the one where you have to, it's the big like pathway to drive into. You know what I'm talking about? I think it might be M.
Yeah.
I had to back all the way down that in reverse because they wouldn't let me back in. It was absolutely a nightmare. So public transit is it's amazing.
There's no reason that you should force people to drive there if they don't have to. You can't even handle the traffic you currently have. And what makes even less sense to me is they're talking about this big grand, entertainment venue and shopping and hotels and apartments and all this other stuff. So like, if you're going to double down and turn this into what you consider to be some kind of sports mecca, at the same time you're going to remove public transportation, it's so stupid. But
yeah, just leave it as is. Xfinity's enough. Give us the public transit, and we're good to go. I mean,
just leave it alone.
I mean, it's even great for concerts. Like, I haven't been to a concert down there, but everyone that goes, like, it's definitely okay with it because even if you don't get in, you could sit outside in Xfinity and listen to music. Like, it's perfect.
If you live in the city, like, there's no reason to drive. You can. I mean, we have a subway station that's attached to the parking lot. How many other stadiums that aren't downtown can really say that? So we'll see if they find a way to screw it up or not. But I felt like that was worth addressing, considering the namesake of the pod is Patterson Ave, and anything that transportation wise that affects the sports complex, it's I feel like it's our duty to bring to the people. So that's all for a transportation corner with Philly Brandon this week. We'll jump into the Phils so far this season because we're in a rain delay right now. A lot of ups, a couple downs. We're going to take the opposite approach of WIP, and we're going to primarily focus on the ups. So far, starting pitching, I would argue, has been as advertised. Unfortunately, Nola has been cosplaying as Taijuan Walker, but we kind of knew we were going to have 4 really good starters. Ironically enough, one of them is Taijuan Walker,
I was about to say
10 innings scoreless, dude.
shout out Taiwan Walker, man. I mean, he proved me wrong already. So we were tough critics. So
Well, I mean, don't be wrong. It was more than deserved. He was a
it was
dumpster fire.
deserved, but you got to tip the cap when it's due, though. And
100%.
we're tipping the cap right now. He's had 2 good starts. No earned runs yet, and it's just about as good as you want it. I want your thoughts on Luzardo trade, because looking back, we were fans of the move because he had this kind of stuff 2 years ago. But what do you think about it now, looking at this Brave start and the starts before?
I mean, look, obviously you can't have much better of a debut than Luzardo had. A couple earned runs, but 11 Ks, and the stuff looked absolutely electric. And it's kind of the tale of two people, where we'll get to Romano later, but you had these 2 reclamation projects where the stuff in the past has been devastating. And you're coming off of some arm injuries. You don't know what's still there. And as soon as you see Luzardo pitch that first game, my immediate thought was he's back. Like, this is the guy that we hoped he was going to turn into, and he started off that way, which is awesome. I think one of the things that's nice about it is, we were talking about how Nola has gotten off to a bit of a slow start. He's going to be fine. It's Aaron Nola. I'm not worried. But let's say the mean for him this year is good, not great. Let's say he's a high three ERA kind of pitcher. Couple big spots, couple big games, but let's just say that's the kind of year he has. We're fine, because I think with what we're getting out of Luzardo and what it looks like we're going to have between him, Wheeler, and Sanchez, you still might have 3 of the top 10 pitchers in the NL, even if one of them's not Aaron Nola.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, the depth that we have at starting pitching, and Painter's going to be up soon enough, so we'll see.
Ranger
what happens
today, he had his first rehab start, went really well in Clearwater.
They're really deep at starter, it feels like now. I know Taiwan Walker's probably going to be the odd man out in this scenario.
He'll be the long man, most likely. He'll move to the pen.
Yeah, which
they'll keep him up.
With the state of the pen right now,
yeah,
be okay with it.
We'll get to that. We're focused on the positive right
now. Hey, Jose Alvarado. I mean,
dude,
for the most part,
how good does he look? He's touching 102.
So we have positives there as well, but at the same time, the starting staff is as advertised, like you said. Nola will turn it around, hopefully, but man, oh man, it's just some of those times where you see that high curveball and you're like, I forget who it was. Was it? Oh, I forget who he threw it to. Was it Tommy Edman? It might have been Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman had a series against us, but outside of Teoscar Hernandez, Christopher Sanchez has looked like a stud. Obviously, he kind of got to him, but some pitchers have those hitters where it's kind of impossible to beat, and they just own you.
I'll live with Teoscar. He dominated Shohei Ohtani. Dominated. That's all I needed to see. He'll figure out Teoscar Hernandez. He might have had a day. If you can take what's largely considered the hottest and best hitter on the planet, and did you see that? I mean, I want to say it was a curveball, or it might have been a really great changeup. But he had Ohtani like on his front knee, just so completely full. Nobody does that to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 0 for 3, 3 Ks. I mean, the stuff is there for Christopher Sanchez.
And he gets better every year.
We said last year that the contract was a complete steal, and we're looking very right so far. So we'll take that. We've been wrong a couple of times on this podcast, but we'll take where we're right when we could get it.
Oh yeah, he gave us a gift, man. I mean, if he had bet on himself and looked ahead to what he probably could be. I was watching MLB Today with Mark DeRosa, and he was really big up in Christopher Sanchez, talking like, this guy's a dark horse Cy Young if the stuff stays the way that it is. I think he's right. I think he is.
I don't see him. I mean, he's going to be a great pitcher. I don't see him getting to Cy Young levels, but I think he's going to be fantastic for us. So what's the difference? I mean, just an award.
I mean, look, there'd be no justice if Zach Wheeler isn't the first one out of this crew to get it. Like, he should be. If anyone gets it, it should be him. I do think there's a world where Christopher Sanchez is that good. I mean, remember Ranger Suarez pre-injury last year was a Cy Young candidate. Now the wheels came off after the injury, but weird guys win it sometimes. Not always the front line.
I'm bookmarking something in my calendar for September for when we have to talk about what we're gonna do with this rotation in the playoffs.
Yeah, because it's gonna be awkward. Who do you leave off?
Who do you leave off?
Plenty of time to worry about it, but the easy guy to slide to the pen is Ranger because he's done it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you might be able to. It's gonna be a 6-man rotation. It's already been stated, but like
through the summer,
yeah, Ranger and Walker out of the pen would not. I'd be okay with it, especially if the pen struggles right now. I mean, they could go eat up innings all they can.
If we asked Ranger to close out the NLCS, he can come in tight spots.
That was ridiculous. We keep referencing that because it's just insane how ice cold his veins are in the postseason. But he turns it on, and hopefully we'll have him back soon. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, because we're going to need a little help in the back end. We talked about how great Alvarado looked, and thank God, because boy, oh boy, are we going to need him. I think Strom settles in. I think he's a very good reliever. He's going to be all right. I kind of have the same faith in him that I do in Nola. He hasn't been himself so far, but there's no part of me that doesn't think he's going to find it. Mm-hmm. Kerkering, I think, was anointed a little bit too early. Stuff is incredible. Really great stuff. Powerful fastball. That sweeper is ridiculous. The lateral movement on that's unbelievable. The problem is his control really hasn't developed all that much over the last 2 seasons. And, you never noticed before because, you could always, you had Soto, you had Sir Anthony, you had Hoff. You had these other guys who cycled into high leverage. If he's your third best reliever, he's going to see a ton of high leverage spots. And if he can't throw strikes, it's going to be dicey.
Yeah. We kind of knew it was going to be a problem when we lost Estevez and Hoffman. It just kind of felt like it was going to be one of those holes, and
with almost no corrections made.
Yeah, that's the problem. But at the same time, how could you necessarily make the corrections with the kind of salary cap limit? There's no salary cap, but it was a tax line that the Phillies were kind of facing there. And, sure, Romano was a nice dice roll looking back in hindsight, not kind of taking into account what we know now, but it feels like it's going to cost this team in the long run if you don't get these reliable guys out of the pen. Obviously, we said Alvarado's been great. He's going to close out games. Strom's a perfect setup man, but you need someone to eat up, that 6th and 7th inning if the starter doesn't go more than 6. So like you need that middle guy. And we don't have that yet.
We've tried a little bit everybody. I mean, Joe Ross last night looked serviceable. I mean, they got one on him. Tanner Banks hasn't impressed me much. Ruiz has been okay, but these are all guys who could get, and have gotten tore up at any point. So yeah, I mean, to your point, last year you look back and we got frustrated with Sir Anthony, got frustrated with Soto, but and we were never going to be able to keep Hoff, and Estevez was kind of meh. But when you lose 4 guys who are good relievers, they might not have been everything we wanted them to be, but they were B-tier relievers. That's a huge hole, and I do see where you're coming from with, how much money can you realistically spend and all that. But when you look at a contract like Romano, where you pay relative, I'm not going to say top dollar, but $10 million for a season is a good contract for a reliever, especially a guy like Romano who had some questions. Looking back through the magic of what we know now, that's probably 2 mid-range relievers that we would really love to have.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and look at the contracts later of, what was handed out to guys this offseason, take a deeper dive into it. I just haven't been able to do that yet.
Hoff was 3 years, 33, so 11 annually.
Yeah, but they didn't want to give the years. That was the problem with Hoffman.
Yeah,
it was never the money at that point. It was the years with Hoffman. So, I mean, I think we're going to be sending some prospects at the deadline again, Brandon. I think that's That's a
which
lot.
drives me nuts, dude. The deadline is for that one big move that might put you over the top. It is not for depth. And the Phillies exclusively use it for depth, and it sucks.
I just looked at both of Estevez and Hoffman's Baseball Savant pages. I shouldn't have looked.
Really? Oh, dude. Look at the
Hoffman's
2025 number. Sorry, go ahead.
Hoffman's is really good, and Estevez is pretty decent. So
every guy that we got rid of last year, right now, currently, has a sub 2 ERA. Hoff, Soto, Seranthony, Estevez, all sub 2 this season. And again, I know who they were last year, so I'm not saying like, oh, well, I would have kept all of them. I'm not. It just hurts to see these guys that we so desperately need play so well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect that from Soto or Seranthony because they did struggle last year, even in Baltimore. They were both in Baltimore. They both struggled there, so I didn't see this one coming. You know, it's just tough when it's not a good look for the coaches when the guys struggle here and then they go somewhere else and excel.
Yeah, it's a tough look for Caleb Cotham, who I do think is a good pitching coach.
He is a good pitching coach.
But it's also so early. I mean, when I'm giving you these numbers, there's 7 innings pitched. Like it is early. They could regress back to the mean.
There's a lot of season left. We're a handful of games in at this point. It's just like Hoffman has like this profile right now that he didn't have last year. You know, it's just one of those things where it's like he went to Toronto and he really excelled. And, you know, maybe that could be the parks they're playing in. Estevez is playing in Kansas City, especially with the cold weather. There's not going to be a lot of runs scored there routinely. I mean, Toronto as well. I think that's more, you know, not as it's still a hitter's park, I believe, but it's not as much as Philadelphia.
No, I mean, and then you got Camden Yards, Camden Yards is pretty hitter friendly, especially the left.
Yeah. So I mean, the weather's doing a lot right now. I'll say that. Because the cold weather is put down the runs.
Not in Philadelphia, it ain't.
Not in Philadelphia, because there was a couple of games where they caught the wind blowing out. And you know when the wind blows out in CBP, it's over.
Yeah, it's a pop fly is gone.
It's Coors Field.
Yeah. But we could use a little bit more than wind to help out the crew lovingly referred to as the daycare previously. I think that's over this year. At the top of this segment, I would like to say that Stott is left out of this. I think Stott's been great this year. I think he's batting over 290, but he's doing Stott things that he didn't do too much last year. If you watch him take ABs, he's got to be one of the most frustrating guys to pitch to because almost every single time he's going to make you throw him 7 or 8 pitches. If you're lucky. Sometimes he'll take you deeper. But that's what I love about him. That's why I think at his best, he's probably the Phillies leadoff guy. You got to see some more consistency because he was so bad last year. But the Stott we're getting right now, who's able to find some green, who's making guys throw a ton of pitches, when he's on the base paths, he's a good runner. He's been really, really good this year. Now the other two, I mean, where do you want to start? Marsh, Bohm? I mean,
you could start anywhere. I mean, it's frustrating. I do want to say Stott is about taking pitches. He's in the 93rd percentile of chase percentage, which is absolutely excellent. So,
yeah, he's a pain in the ass to throw to. He's going to make you work.
Yeah, which is great. And, you know, but like you said, we have to talk about the other two guys, it's really not good.
No,
I don't know.
I'm a big Brandon Marsh guy. I keep waiting for him to figure it out because the tools are there. I mean, he's got when he's right, he's got some pop, or he has in the past. He's a great fielder. He can run a little bit. Like you love the energy from the guy. He's still very good defensively, but you got to offer something on offense because if I just wanted a good defensive center fielder, we have Rojas. Now, the other night, notwithstanding. But generally, he's pretty good out there. But Marsh has been borderline unplayable I think he's batting sub 180 at this point, 0 for his last 17. Chasing, I don't know where to start, unfortunately, with him at the plate.
He is the less aggravating of the two for me.
Yeah, for sure, because his is purely performance based. Like, he's a great clubhouse guy. He plays hard. He plays half the game really well. He had a great catch.
Yes.
What was it? Game 1, Braves?
I believe so.
That sliding catch in center, I think, that game 1.
And and he's a big morale guy. Like you said, the bat's just the problem. But his profile coming in, as a prospect and everything, his bat wasn't supposed to be, like the greatest. So like, it's kind of like what you see is what you're gonna get, which is, it's not great, but it's okay enough. But he's at the bottom of the order, so it's it's all right. Bowman is sometimes, protecting Harper.
Well, yeah, they switched that up tonight, but
they did switch that up tonight, thankfully. But
if you're Marsh, I don't think I'm never going to expect him to hit for power, to hit for RBIs. I mean, any of that. Even though, if you remember, what was it last year? He came out red hot, and then regressed, of course. But if he can just consistently hit above 230, I think in that 9 spot, that's enough, because he's plus on defense. If he can hit, that 230-ish mark, you're getting on base enough. You're turning over the lineup. I don't think it's a ton to ask. He just can't hit 180. I mean, because again, at that point, you got a guy in Rojas who can hit 180, whose defense overall is good, and he's one of the fastest players in the league. So if you're Marsh and you're hitting the same as Rojas, your job security is pretty sketchy. The other one, as you mentioned, is completely in his own head at the moment. Bohm was 0 for 4 last night, 4 strikeouts. He had that muffed ball at third that should have been an easy double play ball to get out of an inning. Ended up not hurting him, but how many times has that play come back to hurt us in the past? And just he had a mental thing in the playoffs. He came into this year not looking like really himself. I don't know what you do with that position, because you're right. He does sometimes protect Bryce. And tonight they moved Casty into 4 to protect Bryce, but I don't think Castellanos is comfortable hitting 4. He's always been a better 6-7 hole hitter. So you really don't want to sacrifice him to cover for Bohm's mistakes either.
Look, I'm not going to say that it's a situation similar to Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at here? Edmundo's hitting close to 500. What can that man not do? They were hyping up, this is his first career start in left field. Robs an Ozuna homer in the first inning. Like, what can't he do? I mean, he's incredible. He should be starting. I don't know where. You got to place him somewhere. You need his bat in the lineup, and apparently in the field he's incredible too. It's unbelievable what he's been able to do.
I'd start him at third right now.
I agree.
I mean, Bohm. I want to like Bohm. I want him to do well. I mean, because when he's good, he's really, really good. I mean, he had a great season last year, except for the that last playoff series. But everybody sucked. I almost give him a pass for that. But I think sometimes he gets a level of clout that he doesn't deserve. Like, I get why you can't sit Trey. He's Trey. He's making 300. Same thing when Cassie goes through his struggles. Like, he's Nick Castellanos. He's a big bat. I get it. Bohm shouldn't be looked at that way. Bohm isn't producing, and Edmundo Sosa can. He doesn't have enough pull, clout, whatever, cachet, whatever word you want to use, to go, but we can't upset Alec. No, sit his ass. Sosa
Alec's already
deserves
upset.
it.
He's already upset. I mean,
what the hell's the difference?
His morale is that's why I don't want to sit Marsh, really. He's still a team guy, He's going through the punches. He's not being negative about it. You could see after every Alec Bohm at bat, he's just checked out or something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's checked out. I don't know if he's going through something, personal. Hopefully he's not. That's a whole other story. But it's one of those things where if he gets out of his own head, he could lead the league in doubles.
He just did it. He just
exactly.
did it.
Exactly. He could lead the league in doubles again. It's
And
like
like
uh,
I like your point about the doubles because sometimes I agree Alec Boehm hasn't been good this year, but sometimes I'll see his like power numbers kind of used against him, and it's like, oh, Boehm hasn't homered since August of last year or whatever it was, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't sound good. But if you've watched this team long enough, and that's how you're judging Alec Boehm, then you haven't really watched this team because that's never been his game. He's never been a guy that hits it out of the ballpark. To your point, he's a doubles guy, and that's not equally. That's also extremely valuable. If he can lead the league in doubles and be a 90+ RBI guy, I don't give a shit if he hits 4 home runs because the job's getting done the same way.
just think of Kyle Schwarber in the 3 spot with his power and replace it with Bum, and then you're like, okay, I get it now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and yeah, just anybody, and that's where I think Phillies fans, ourselves included, were clamoring for that one more bat in the offseason. Because you look at who can protect Bryce, and Trey's probably going to lead off most of the time. Then you have Bryce pretty much at 2 solidified, right? Yeah. Right now Boehm's 3, Schwarber 4. So if you want to drop Boehm out of the 3, who do you put in? JT hasn't been great at the dish either in recent memory. Kepler, too new to tell. He's another guy who has had moments this year, but he's still overall hitting below 200. Maybe Stott, but again, the pop isn't there. Like that guy that you're afraid to pitch to other than Bryce still isn't on the roster.
I mean, I know it's lefty in a row. I think you might just try Schwarber just for the heck of it. He's just so good right now. Like, you're gonna have to pitch to Bryce because if you pitch around him or put Bryce on, Schwarber's gonna probably take you a yard. I mean, that home run tonight, just every night, you look at the exit velos that he's getting off. It's ridiculous. I mean,
6 in 12 games, he's rolling.
It's absolutely ridiculous what he's doing.
He should get the Zach Bond blank check. Just somebody should walk in and be like, Kyle, what would you like? Just come back.
Yeah, he's reached that level for the Phillies. I mean, his bat is just super impactful, and he's the reason we've stayed afloat. I thought there was points last year that he was our best hitter. I think he's our best hitter right now. Nothing against Bryce, but like Schwarber's just on a whole nother planet.
Yeah, he's red hot right now. I mean, in a moment where look, you watched the game last night too. Like, if I need a hit or if I need a couple runs, I'm gonna take Bryce 10 out of 10 times. And it's not anything against Schwarber because you're right. He's swinging a tennis racket right now. But there's just I've never known an athlete in Philadelphia to come up in the clutch as often and as all the time as Bryce Harper does. Like last night, anyone else in the lineup when in that situation, man on first, I'm hoping, all right, just get on, move him over. Let's string a couple of hits together. With Bryce, I was 50-50. I was like, this ball might go out. Like, that's always got to be in your head. So having those two together is awesome. I don't think we'll ever see it because of, like you said, the lefty-lefty. I just don't think Rob will do it. But
I think he's do it.
He's the best guy to protect Bryce at the moment. Casty's also been great this year, though. He just is somebody who has typically hit better on the back half of the lineup for whatever the reason.
Yeah, I mean, if you look out in the trade market right now, I mean, you always got to keep an eye out. I know I said we're 15 games in, but man, you know who the guy that keeps coming back to me? He's not having a good season at all right now to start, but Luis Robert. I mean, put him in the 3-hole. I mean, it feels kind of right. I feel like he hit better in CBP around these guys. I think we've said that before, but
yeah, that's always been the tempting part, but I think the reason we haven't seen anything done yet is his, in my opinion, and apparently in the opinion of the Phillies, his talent, especially this year, doesn't outweigh the baggage you get with him.
That's a fair assessment. I forget exactly what interview it was. I'm going to go back and look. It was some ridiculous quote about being on the White Sox, and you're like, okay, well, what are we doing? I understand you're in a rough spot here, but
Yeah,
it was a bad
you got to
anthem.
be really good for people to overlook clubhouse issues in baseball, especially with you could look at it with the way the Phillies and the Eagles kind of look at free agents the same way, where Mekhi Becton was considered a cancer, but it was out of frustration, and the Eagles knew that they had the coaching, they had the vets, they had the culture to kind of absorb it. But if you're the Phillies and you're not the Eagles, you don't have those lifelong vets. I mean, Bryce is the closest thing you got. It's a different sport, kind of. Baseball's a little bit more like guys are in their own heads. They talked about with Bohm. I just don't see the benefit of rocking the boat for a guy who's right now average at best.
See, I understand that. I understand not wanting to rock the boat with him specifically, but you have to rock the boat. I think we're doing great right now, but it's gonna come to a point where you're gonna have to beat the Dodgers. When series win, great comeback. Is it gonna be that way in the postseason?
No.
They also didn't have Freddie.
I'm all for rocking the boat. We said coming in. This year can't be about friendship anymore. That's not what I'm advocating for.
Doesn't look like it is.
If Teoscar Hernandez said some dumb shit in a press conference, I wouldn't care. I need that bat in my lineup because he's that good. I guess what I'm saying is Luis Robert isn't good enough to overlook the clubhouse stuff.
Yeah, I mean, right now I totally agree with you, and last year as well. Maybe I'm holding on to 2023 a little bit because he's absolutely incredible. So, we'll get to that point eventually where we're going to talk about trade targets and everything. Contenders and pretenders are going to emerge. We know the Phillies are contenders. It's probably going to be them, the Dodgers, and the Braves.
Hey, the Braves better get their ass in gear.
They're gonna.
Conversation.
They're gonna. I mean, they'll at least make the playoffs. We have the Mets as well, but they've had some rocky starts there as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies right now look like, to me, pretty clearly the best in that division. I know we're only a half game up on the Mets, but I think the Mets rotation's got nothing on Phillies. I think the lineups, you could argue, are pretty close to one another. The Mets might have a slight edge, because then you have Lindor, Soto, and Alonso is kind of your big three. Whereas, I think Trey and Kyle stand up great against Soto and Alonso 1v1. I don't think a lot of people would consider Trey a better hitter than Lindor or a better shortstop than Lindor. So that's where they kind of get us on the lineup. But starting pitching, it's not close.
Especially after the Mets injuries.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. But going back to the whole daycare thing, I'm glad they're taking it seriously. I'm glad there's no more dumping water. I mean, sure, it was fun. Sure, it was a college vibe. Sure, it was, friendship. But you've fallen short 3 seasons in a row now. And of course, the one was an overperformance. But the other two just feel so not so good. Like after that World Series run, we all felt good. And then the preceding 2 seasons, it just felt the vibes just kept getting lower and lower. Now they mean business. I'm perfectly happy with where the team's at right now outside of the bullpen. I think you agree.
Yeah.
That one.
Win a World Series. Then you can throw yourself a fucking carnival after every game for all I care. Just win a World Series.
They could be Gatorade bathing everyone after a World Series win, like the next season. I don't care, man. Like do whatever you want, but we do need to see improvements in the lineup. I mean, obviously Schwellenbach tonight is a really good pitcher. So I understand the struggles. He was another Cy Young dark horse they were mentioning along with Christopher Sanchez. So he's really good. Schwarber got him obviously because he's got Schwarber.
Yeah, it looks like a beach ball to him right now.
It really does. And we're at a 1-1 game, and I don't know if it's going to pick back up. They said rain for the next 3 hours. So
yeah, I don't know if I'm going to stay up for that one. I'll be honest with you.
I don't think I will either, but we'll see about that one. I mean, signs against the Dodgers and the Braves have been encouraging, though.
They play top talent well.
We're really going to look back on that Dodgers comeback in Game 3, and this team has perseverance, and that's what we're going to take away from that, because I thought it got really, really not so good there with Romano on the mound against the top of the Dodgers order, which hopefully Rob learned from that you can't do that in high leverage situations anymore, because
no, it's a shame when the guy you just paid $10 million for is a liability, but he is.
You got to call it like you see it right now. Maybe he's still working out the elbow issues from his surgery last year. I mean,
hopefully,
but you can't bank on that, and we'll see where the season takes us.
Yeah, we'll see what we got. We'll see what this rain delay takes us. We'll see where the season takes us. Enjoy the rest of the game if it comes on. I don't think it will personally, but let's see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm Brandon. He's Ryan. This is the Passing Report. Go Phils.